Hey, welcome to the Dreppin' Stone Podcast, the podcast where two friends raise a glass and have a conversation. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kyle.
Kyle!
Hey, buddy.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going really well. How are you, sir?
Man, I am sitting over here in a pool of my own sweat, sitting in the AC.
Nice.
Yeah.
How's the weather treating you?
Pool of sweat AC. That's how it's treating me.
Man, not even the AC can keep up with you.
No. In fact, like I got the fan on high. I've got the AC on like 68, and
it's on overtime.
The fan has not stopped running for like 3 weeks. The AC fan, I mean, and I'm sure the hamsters that live in the AC are just crying. Yeah.
Oh, they knew this time of year was coming.
Yeah, they did.
If they're not prepped for it, it's on them.
Listen, man, during the winter months, like we basically never turn on the AC, right, or the heat at all. So like it's really nice in the house, but that means
nice
like
electric bill.
Yeah, that means like our electric bill can dip below $100,
yeah,
which I think that's pretty good.
Anywhere, that's fine.
Absolutely, but man, in the summer, we're skyrocket.
You make up for it.
Oh yeah, yeah, I definitely do. So I just have to remind myself when I get that June and July bill, I'm like, oh man, okay, I saw this coming.
Yeah.
What about you? How's the weather treating you?
I've been doing some traveling here or there. Just got back from a trip, and I've noticed just looking around the neighborhood, everything's looking really dry and crispy right now.
Oh yeah.
So we must have been in some sort of a drought here recently.
Well, I mean, so we're recording this. We're not exactly sure when this episode is going to come out because we're doing some traveling this summer. So we're recording this in like early to mid-May. And for us here in Florida, early, like April and May, it's kind of one of our dry seasons. Like November is another one of our dry seasons. And I feel like this one is just like hit us particularly hard, man. Like I've got the sprinklers running like twice a day, like 4 days a week.
No, come on. That's no good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep up, man. I'm just trying to keep that yard from dying. I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Because ain't nobody got time to sit out there with a hose and just like hope for the best. Spray back and forth.
What else you got to do?
Yeah, right. So I never thought I'd be someone who's like, man, I'm hoping for summer storms, but man, I'm hoping for summer storms.
Yeah, I know. Like the old saying growing up was April showers bring May flowers, but like we didn't have any showers in April.
Nah.
And it doesn't look like we're going to get much in May. So sorry, flowers.
Yeah. This episode's probably coming out in like sometime in mid-June, maybe.
Right.
So I hope our future selves that there is some nice rain showers and that we do have whatever kind of flowers that we can get.
For sure. Hey, I got one for you.
Yeah.
Did you hear the story about the guy that apparently has recently bought the most expensive bottle of whiskey ever?
No. Like, that's like what? A couple $100?
Cute. No. It's a guy, I think his name was Mike Daly. He spent $2.8 million on a bottle of Irish whiskey.
What?
A triple distilled, mind you. Triple distilled.
What kind of Irish whiskey?
It's a 30-year-old luxury spirit.
It's a Daithi bottle, isn't it?
Maybe. From the Craft Irish Whiskey Company.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen.
I mean, with his purchase now, it came in its own miniature walnut armoire.
Okay.
When you open that, there's also there's a decanter that comes along with it.
Okay.
A couple of Glencairns, a bespoke timepiece that's tucked into the door.
Uh-huh.
A Fabergé egg. And a pair of Cohiba cigars.
Okay, so wait. So he bought a 30-year-old Irish whiskey, and it came with all this other shit, and they charged him for all this other shit.
$2.8 million. Well, I don't think the other stuff would necessarily have come up to that price tag. Now, there was just a month earlier, before this guy spent the $2.8 million, a guy bought a Macallan for $2.7 million that came with nothing. So you're talking about an extra $100,000. So would all of that stuff have accumulated more than $100,000? Perhaps.
But did you say an age for the Macallan?
The year it came out was 1926. But I don't know when it was bottled. It doesn't give you an age statement, but it's old.
Gotcha. That's okay.
But it could have been bottled in 1930, and it's just a 4-year-old Macallan.
Sure. my point with that is either I highly doubt that Macallan has sat in a barrel for 100 years. It's possible, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
So my thought process is, let's say it's a 10-year-old Macallan, but that bottle's still been around for 90 years, basically.
Right.
That's a very rare bottle, my assumption is.
Sure.
But this bottle is a 30-year-old Irish whiskey.
I don't see either one of them being worth almost $3 million.
Definitely not. But
I mean, can you even imagine? Like, just a pour is going to be $100,000 in value for a pour.
I mean, we're making like buckets of money with this Drep and Stone stuff, but we ain't making that kind of money.
Sure. Obviously, you don't drink it.
No, I said, listen, if you're somebody who's like, you can afford a $2.8 million bottle of Irish whiskey, you're like, fuck it. I'm drinking it right now by myself.
Right.
I think that's
the whole bottle.
Oh yeah. That's what someone's going to do.
Right.
I just feel like, it's that kind of person that, doesn't care about the cost of the fuel for their yacht because I have a yacht. So why do I care about the cost of the fuel kind of thing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Still, mix it with
that's
Coke.
Ridiculous.
Have a good day.
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's what I picture. Like some person like cracking that armoire, being like, screw that, throwing that armoire away, lighting up the cohibas, pouring that 30-year-old Irish whiskey and some ginger ale and calling it a night.
They try a sip neat and they're like, ooh, nasty. Have that ginger ale there.
Yeah, exactly. Give me that Schweppes.
We're gonna make this good.
Exactly. Yeah. Listen, man. Like I understand. Like we have friends of the pod that they auction off bottles and high price bottles for good causes. I completely understand that. So if if that's what this was, cool. More power to you. But my assumption is that's not what this was. This was just super rich people flexing super rich dollars.
Yeah.
And is any whiskey, like you take a sip of that and you're like, damn, that's a $2.8 million whiskey? Nah. Ain't no way.
Or what if it's like the best thing you ever had and it was like life changing? You'll never have it again though.
Yeah. Like, nah.
No way you take, no way you drink anything. No way.
Speaking of drinking something though.
Yeah.
Our conversations, and again, depending on when this comes out, our previous episodes, we might be like 30 cocktails deep at this point. We have no idea.
Who knows?
So because we're squarely in the summer of cocktails and we've kind of been doing some experimentation, I say we make ourselves a cocktail and do some experimentation. What do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be actually like the kickoff of the summer of cocktails, even though maybe we don't release this for like another couple of months. But this is the episode that we're starting it, so we're going to figure this out. In terms of us recording it, we've already, I see what you mean. Who knows? Yeah.
What cocktail are we having this week, Kyle?
Well, all right, for what we do, we've always said we're whiskey forward, so it should be a whiskey cocktail. And what makes more sense for us to start with than the old fashioned?
To me, there is nothing more quintessential than an old fashioned, but an old fashioned is really easy to mess up.
Ooh, easy to make, easy to mess up.
I think so. Yeah. I think about it like Italian food. Italian food, it's got a good Italian food anyway. It's got really simple ingredients, and it's Italian food here in America anyway is super ubiquitous.
Right.
But it's everyone can do it, but only a few people can do it very well. And also it's kind of easy to mess up.
Right.
Easy to make. I like what you said. Easy to make, easy to mess up though.
The reason I say we start with the old fashioned too is kind of like that's really where I started with my whiskey journey. Was I wasn't drinking whiskey neat right off the bat.
Right.
I started, drinking old fashions just as a way to introduce myself into the spirit, and was able to, enjoy that for what it was, and then began to appreciate the flavor of the whiskey more and more. And so would kind of alter my recipe to kind of highlight the whiskey a little bit more. And that was my way of getting into bourbon in general anyway. So I think that's like a really good place to start,
Yeah, that's exactly my experience too.
All right, so easy to make, easy to mess up. What makes an old fashioned? What do you put in an old fashioned?
Okay, so I think the really standard old fashioned, at least I think a good old fashioned.
Even go back, I think the original old fashioned was just whiskey, a sugar cube, and a splash of water.
Yeah, I think so.
If you go like simplest of simples, the OG was that simple.
Yeah, and it was like that was basically just to like you had, kind of crappy whiskey. So it was basically just to like water the whiskey down just a little bit and make it a little more palatable. That was basically what it was.
Yeah. Add a touch of sweetness on it.
Yeah, exactly. But I think now if you go anywhere that's like doing good cocktails, again, you can go down to your local Applebee's if you want. You can go ask for an old fashioned and they're going to give you something. But I think a good old fashioned is going to have obviously a decent quality whiskey. It's going to have a couple of dashes of Angostura. It's going to have an orange slice, and it's going to have some version of, or not necessarily an orange slice, maybe an orange peel, some sort of citrusy bright note, and it's going to have some version of a sweet. It doesn't have to be like, straight up sugar. It could be, you can play around with that, but that's the basic, super basic old fashioned.
Right.
I mean,
how does Nick make his old fashioned?
Like the one I'm drinking right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
we've made them, by the way.
Yeah, we have. My normal go-to old fashioned, if I'm going to make an old fashioned, first let me explain what I have in my glass right now.
Okay.
And then I'll explain my normal, what I do. So right now, because I'm experimenting this summer, I'm playing around with different cocktails. I decided to make a Basil Rye old fashioned.
Woo!
Yeah.
All right.
So here's what I did. I took 2 ounces of the High West Double Rye.
Okay.
I took 3 large basil leaves.
Yeah.
And
you them?
I did. I exactly. Yep.
Nice.
I first put those basil leaves in a glass. I crushed it up. I muddled it up just a little bit.
Nice.
Then I put my sweet. For my sweet, I just used a real simple syrup. Just literally white sugar and water. Simple syrup. I probably used about maybe half an ounce, maybe 3/4 of an ounce, something like that.
Right.
Poured that in there, mix that up a little bit. Topped it with ice, mix it up a little bit. And then I topped that with about 2 ounces of the double rye. And why I did this is I wanted to add some layers to my old fashioned here. So instead of the orange or the bright, I opted for the bright being more like an herbal bright. And so that I threw the basil in there. I forgot to mention I took a basil leaf and I smacked the top of my glass with it. Just to release some of that. And I thought the rye might play really well with the basil going on there. So that was my thought process. So that's what I've done.
You do
for
bitters?
This. I did not do any bitters in this one. No, because I felt like that the herbal notes in the basil would kind of already give, because basil can be a little peppery too, give me some of those notes.
Right.
And I got to tell you, man, it's not my favorite thing, but it's not bad. I honestly I love the rye. And that's kind of my go-to in an old-fashioned anyway. Like I would rather a rye in an old-fashioned. But I do think it needs kind of like a mid-note. So like I've got the top note as the herbal and the basil. I've got the bottom of the rye just kind of holding everything together. But there's nothing in the middle that like it needs something else. And I'm not quite sure what yet. So I got to play around with it a little bit more. But yeah, it needs something else in the middle.
Gotcha.
What about you? What is what you have your normal?
Well, yeah, what I've got right now is kind of like my go-to.
Okay.
Depending on the day, I can go for rye or bourbon either way. It just kind of depends on the day. I'm not a purist in that it has to be a rye. I enjoy it with bourbon also. Either or, they both work perfect for me. But what I mixed today is it was 1.5 ounces of Piggy Back, 100% rye. And then I did a 1/2 ounce of the Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof rye. That's because I've tried it. That was 2 ounces of the Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof rye. And that's too much. It's too heavy of a drink. Kicks you way too hard. So backed it off. Went with the Whistle Pig because that's a much lower proof. And then just a half an ounce of the JD. And then I would say like 1/4 ounce of simple syrup. I do 3 shakes of orange bitters, 3 shakes of chocolate bitters.
Ooh.
And then I do a luxardo cherry and about 1/2 spoonful of the syrup. Let that all, marinate, get down to the bottom. Give it all a stir. Take an orange slice. Put that in the drink, and then take the extra half of the orange and just squeeze the orange juice over it.
Yeah.
So it's full of flavor. And I think a more traditional old fashioned is kind of like softer in its flavor profile. This one is like very loud, and everything is very like at like a 8 or a 9 on the volume of how loudly those flavors are coming through.
Like, I love everything you just said. And like, I can picture, because like that's kind of my standard go-to as well. Like, I would rather the rye. I'm not a purist either. But when I'm making like a standard old fashioned, that's kind of what I'm doing as well. I'm not mixing. I like what you said where you're mixing some of the JD in there. That's an interesting, I've never thought about that. I've always just used a single whiskey, but man,
Right.
that would definitely add some depth. That's really cool. And usually, like, I'm just using regular Angostura. I'm a little, like, not that I'm opposed, but that's just what I have.
Right.
And I used about 6 dashes, and so that checks out. And I like what you said about squeezing the orange over the top. Like, that's going to add some other like bright orange citrus notes that, like, man.
Well, and
I'm jealous.
I like
jealous.
having it that strong to begin with, because then as you drink the drink, as some of the ice melts and everything, it's still able to combat it and still have a good flavor as you finish the drink and not be too watered down.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I think I've learned in my cocktail making experience, is that you kind of want the drink to go on its own journey itself. You know, like, a cocktail is not something that you should just crush in a quick gulp. You know, it's something it's something to me that should evolve and change as, you know, you progress through the drink. So the easy way to do that, obviously, is with ice and the dilution. So like, I love that idea. Let's start a little bit higher, and then as things kind of mellow out, and as your palate also acclimates to it, the drink's going to change. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's absolutely delightful.
And that's too what I like about, like, you know, you go to a cocktail bar and they might have an old fashioned on the menu, and you know, you get Sarah who makes her old fashioned this way, and you get Rick who makes his old fashioned this way, and you know, Darnell makes his old fashioned that way. I mean, it's all the same thing, but it's like, here's a little bit of a different, you know, variation, and that's cool, man.
Yeah. What's the best old fashioned you've ever had? Could you think of one?
Yeah, there's a cocktail bar a couple towns over from us. You and we actually went there and we recorded. It's called Revival.
Sure.
We recorded a couple years ago. You remember that place?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So they do a bunch of different old fashions. They do like a fat washed old fashioned. They do like a duck fat washed old fashioned. They do a bunch of different things. I asked one of the bartenders, I was like, hey, I want an old fashioned, but, you know, give me something a little different. So he made me an old fashioned with a mezcal, and it just blew my mind. It was fantastic. You know, it's still whiskey-ish, but you had the really nice mezcal smoky notes. Man,
right.
it just like boom. Whoa.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. A bit of a chain restaurant, Bonefish. Okay. Bonefish does a great smoked old fashioned. They have a really cool presentation with it where they smoke the wood chips. They catch it in like a cognac glass.
Brandy snifter.
Yeah, and serve it to you in a rocks glass. But then they've got the snifter on top with the smoke, and that just like sits there. And then you can let it sit there as long as you want and marinate and let that smoke really get in there. But then when you pull off the glass and that smoke just kind of volcanoes over the edge and everything, oh man. It's a great drink.
It's like theater too. That's cool.
Yeah. It's, you know, a little bit of a parlor trick. It's nice.
Yeah, and that again, that to me is like, that's just indicative of, you know, what I think the fun of cocktails, and this particular cocktail is that it's called an old fashioned, but like, you can make it however you want, really.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it all over the place now. Like there's cognac old fashions, like what you're saying, like a mezcal old fashioned sounds incredible. I want to definitely, like, this summer, like, play around with that and like try some different stuff and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm definitely down, because I want to see what's possible and what's out there. You know, I want to find out how I can make these things, any of the cocktails that we're doing and that we've already done, and then make it to like how I like it.
Yeah, I mean, even like, because a lot of these things are like manipulatable.
Oh yeah,
is that the right word? Where you can adjust it and, you know, and figure out exactly where your preferences are in it.
Yeah, I think that's the upside, and that's also can be like a downside of a good cocktail, or of a cocktail as a whole too, is because, like, as much as I like that there's so many variations, I also recognize that like you can very well get some stinkers within that too.
Yeah, that's true. But live and learn.
Yep, exactly. Hey, so, we've been doing a lot of pairings lately as well.
Trying to.
Well, I think we've done it. We've just we've put them on the Insta Twitters.
Yeah.
They've been a lot of fun.
Some are more successful than others.
Sure, but like,
it's hard to pair some things.
It truly is. So this got me thinking, like, as we're kind of in the summer mode, we've got our cocktails going on. Summer's a kind of the beachy season. For you, like you're at a beach or you're hanging out by the pool. I think both work here. What for you is the perfect snack pairing with a beach day or a pool day?
As a family, we've got a bit of a tradition of when we go to the beach, because we're here in Central Florida, you're never more than a stone's throw from a Publix. And we hit up the pub subs really hard before we go to the beach. We'll get a couple of 6-inch pub sub, and it's almost at this point in time synonymous for us. Like, that's just what we do. We go grab some sandwiches and we take them. I'll usually go with like an ultimate, like a ham, turkey, roast beef, loaded up with some veggies. Got to have that oil and vinegar, and it just works. doesn't really seem like beach food, but we like it. The seagulls like it. They don't complain. Either that or sushi. Sometimes you go in there and you see the sushi counter over there, and you're like, all right, doing a sushi roll today.
Nothing says like 100 degrees bacon in the sun like some sushi.
Like some raw fish. I'm gonna dry age it myself.
Honestly, man, great minds think alike, because that's exactly what my MO is as well. Like, we will, if we can plan ahead, because again, being so close to the beach, we can honestly make a snap decision, just like, all right, that's what we're doing today. Rarely does that happen, but you go over in the morning or whatever, and you might not have the store open necessarily. If that's right. The case, then we'll figure it out. But if we do plan ahead, pub sub is the way to go, man.
Yeah.
If you get it the night before, it kind of sits a little bit. It develops in flavor. You put it in your cooler and
a bit of a marriage of flavors.
Exactly. You put it in your cooler and you're good to go.
Yeah, easy and delicious.
Exactly. I'm the same way. Like, I'll get either an Italian or maybe an ultimate or just like a straight up roast beef and cheddar or whatever. Nothing hits the spot like a Publix sub on the beach in Florida.
Yeah. I mean, especially like at the beach, you got to be careful. Like, you can't go out there, and if you've got too much stuff and it's all open, you're gonna get attacked. Those seagulls are just gonna like lay into you, and they're not at all shy about letting you know, hey, I'm gonna have some of this.
It's not only seagulls; it's also the locals too. Like, I've done it myself. Like, I look over and I see this family that's clearly from like Lancashire, and I know that they're from Lancashire because they're more pale than I am, and yeah, I know, and they're turning this like lovely shade of crimson.
Nice.
So they've figured it out because they listen to Drep and Stone. They know about the pub sub, and I look over and I see them, and I'm like, I forgot my pub sub. The people over there got pub subs, and then I just go over there and I take their pub sub.
Hey, y'all got an extra 6-inch? No, give me that one.
Yeah, no, I don't even ask. I don't address them. I don't say my name. Nothing. I just go over. Yeah. I take the sandwich and I walk back to where I'm sitting and I sit down.
Yeah. Because you're a daunting figure,
That is true, but I also I don't want to make friends, and I want them. It's like a shock and awe kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I go in and I do what the seagulls do. I look around and look at the animals. Like, that's what they're doing. I'm going to do what they're doing. So it's a shock and awe. Right. You want to hit them from all directions,
Yeah. Fast and quick.
You don't want to let them know what happened.
Yeah. In and out.
Exactly. But I agree with you completely. Like, it's one of those things that's like, this is quintessential beach food, I think, at this point.
It's Florida. It's just Florida beach food.
Which brings me to the point of, like, if you're visiting Florida and you're going to the beach, there's bound to be a Publix, which is a supermarket chain. There's bound to be a Publix within 5-10 feet of you.
Easy.
You need to go and grab yourself a pub sub.
It's the right way to go.
Okay, so that's like food. What about snack? You got a beach snack?
Beach snack? It's probably just chips or maybe like a fruit cup. My wife's pretty big on like, taking like a whole thing of grapes, pulling all of them and putting them in a Tupperware, throwing some ice in there, keep it all cool.
Yeah.
And that's really refreshing. You come out of that salt water, a nice cold grape hits really well.
That's my man. I like that we think alike here, because that's what I do too. Like I want a fruit bowl, like a fruit salad, not like a canned fruit salad, but I want like a mixed fruit bowl.
Yeah.
I want some pineapple,
fresh fruit.
Exactly. Give me some pineapple, give me some watermelon, give me some grapes, and I'm gonna sink that to the very bottom of my cooler because I want that nice and crispy cold.
Yeah, I want those grapes popping.
Exactly. I'm gonna get out of the water. I'm gonna run the gauntlet of sand back to the semi cool shaded area that I've got going on.
Right.
I'm gonna lick my burns on the bottom of my feet because they hurts. I'm gonna dip my feet in my cooler first because I've done scalded my feet off, and then I'm gonna pop a few of those grapes or a few of those pineapple pieces or watermelon chunks or whatever. Man, delicious.
Yeah.
I also like a good Chex Mix.
Oh, that spicy bold.
Oh, that spicy bowl. Yeah. You know what, man? I had the regular Chex Mix. I'm like, something wrong with this. And then I realized that it wasn't the bowl. I'm like, why do they even make this? You look down,
it was just original.
Yeah. It's like, why do they even make this crap? It's the bowl for me.
It's a bunch of sawdust. It tastes like cardboard.
Exactly. Yeah, I like a good Chex Mix. I think it works for some reason.
We're pretty simple when we go to the beach. We don't overplan. I think that's like a bit of the seasoned professional of going to the beach is you learn that you got to kind of keep it simple.
Yeah.
You go overwhelmed, like if you try to get out there and grill or something, and oh man, it just becomes a mess. And the seagulls are just relentless around here. Again, you got to keep it contained. You got to keep it close. If you go get a bunch of fast food and everybody's eating it, and oh man, seagulls will be all over you in a minute. I've
learned the exact same thing. Like I'm all for families hanging out and grilling and all that kind of stuff. But like for me, man, nah. I'm let's get there. Let's do the thing. Let's have the beach time. Let's eat. Let's get out. Well, you got anything else? No, me neither. I think I'm gonna go experiment with this Basil Rye Old Fashioned a little bit and see if I can't get that middle note going there. Yeah, I'm interested in it. Seems like that should work. I'm wondering. Like you said, you used rye, right? Yep. So I'm wondering maybe it's a bourbon, because maybe the basil and the those kind of like which rye did you say? The High West Double Rye. Oh right, I don't remember that one too well. Maybe the bourbon, a little extra sweetness would be that little bit of a middle note, or maybe like an ounce and a half of rye and like half an ounce of bourbon. Just play around with that. Let's start there and see what happens. I like it. That's the fun of it. We'd love to know, what is your go-to old-fashioned recipe? Yeah, let us know how you like to make them. And what establishment have you visited that just gave you an old-fashioned and just blew your mind? Yeah, or who made one for you that was just like that was the eye-opening experience that you needed to have. Yeah, exactly. We'd also love to know, what is your go-to beach and or pool day snack? Yeah, snack or food. Let us know. Like if you're at the beach or the pool, what makes it complete? What food item do you have to have? Absolutely. Well, you can get in touch with us through email. That's drepandstone@gmail.com. You can also get in touch with us through social media. It's always one word, Drep and Stone, DREP and Stone. Come find us, share a thing, comment on a thing. And we'd appreciate those things. We'd also love to know, what kind of cocktails should we do next? Yeah, throw us some suggestions. Let us know. We'll be happy to try them. Yeah, absolutely. And we'd love it if you support the podcast. You can do so through our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/DrepandStone. You can also support the podcast by rating Drep and Stone wherever it is you get great podcasts like this one. You can also support the podcast by purchasing a couple of bottles on Flaviar and using the Drep and Stone promo code. That's DSP10. And finally, Kyle. Yes, sir. You can support Drep and Stone by telling someone about the podcast. Yeah, you're sitting at the beach. You're obviously listening to the podcast. Reach over to that family over there, or that guy that's like clearly he's burnt to a crisp, fell asleep. Go wake him up. Say, hey, buddy, roll over and listen to this podcast. It'll help you stay awake. And, by the time that they've finished the drink section of the podcast, that means it's time for you to flip back over.
reapply some sunscreen.
And he's going to look at you dead in the face and he's going to say, will you put sunscreen on my back? And you'll say, listen, we're friends now. Absolutely. Like, I'll do the thing for you. As long as you're listening to the podcast, I'm good with it.
With a tear in your eye, you will say, yeah, buddy, I got you.
Good deed done all around. On that note, hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
May your glass overflow.
And your ass never show. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
And then apparently Doritos is making their own whiskey.
Oh, you can't hear it?
No.
Oh. I thought you could
I can hear it in my mind. All right.
All right. Oh, you fancy.
I went all out.
Yeah, I could see that.
I dig out that luxardo. Woo. Ice cold.
I know. Ain't nothing better than a good luxardo, Cherry.
Sour Patch Kids.
Sardines.
Woo!
I need a can of sardines and some Sour Patch Kids. And I just put them together and I'm like...
Mustard.
On a club or Ritz cracker. Either way, I'm good. I did that wrong.
You did it just right.